I'm starting the first topic, that is two typical cases of poverty. From there I'm starting. So students, let's start with the first topic, that is two typical cases of poverty. In this topic I shall explain you two cases. First is the urban case and second is the rural case. The urban case means related to the cities and rural case means related to villages. So this means that poverty is not only in urban case or not only in rural case, rather it is in the complete region, that means in the complete country. Alright. So let's start with the first case, that is with the urban case. So students, let me tell you that urban case deals with the story of Ramsaran and rural case deals with the story of Lakha Singh. So first we will start with the story of Ramsaran. So students, Ramsaran is a 33-year-old man and he lives in Ranchi, Jharkhand, and he works in a wheat flour mill as a daily wage laborer, and he manages to earn rupees 1500 per month. But let me tell you that he does not get 1500 per month for the complete year, means whenever he is able to find job, that time he manages to get around 1500 per month, and for the rest of the months he does odd jobs. Alright. But let me tell you that this 1500 per month is not enough to sustain the family of 6 members. That means Ramsaran, his wife and his 4 children. So 6 members are there in his home, and 1500 is definitely not sufficient to manage everything well in the house. And also he has to send money to his old parents who are living in the village. And Ramsaran, he has rented a 1-room house and he lives in the outskirts, and he lives in a typical basti. Alright. And in order to add to the family income, to the income of the family, his wife also works as a helper. She works as a domestic helper in a few houses, and she manages to earn around 800 per month. And in order to add to the income, his elder son, he works in a tea stall, he works as a helper, and he gets around 300 per month. And if I talk about the daughter, his daughter takes care of the younger siblings. That means none of his children goes to school. And the family, the members of the family, they have hardly 2 pairs of clothes each, and shoes are luxury for them. And whenever they fall ill, there is no, cut this line. And the kids are undernourished and they have no access to any health care whenever they fall ill, because the family income is too less. The family income is not enough to sustain 6 members, and also the money has to be sent to the parents of Ramsaran. So this is the first case. So I hope the first case is clear to everyone. This is the first story. Now I will tell you the second story, that means the rural case, that means the story of Lakha Singh. Now students, if I talk about this Lakha Singh, the Lakha Singh lives in a small village near Meerut. He is a landless laborer and he works as a farm laborer, and at times he manages to get around rupees 50. And there are 8 members in his family, and all the 8 members, they live in a kacha house on the outskirts of the village. And his father, he was a TB patient, and due to lack of medication he passed away. And his mother, she is also suffering from the same disease, and his mother is just waiting for her life to get over. Means she has no motive to live, there is no charm in her life, and she is just waiting for her last moment. And if I talk about the children, then none of the children has access to school. If I talk about the women of the family, then the women, they chop, their work is to chop fodder and to collect firewood. And you know, as I told you, that children, they never went to school. And you know, the condition of Lakha Singh is worse than the earlier case, that means Ram Saran. You know, this family, the family of Lakha Singh, even small items, for example, small commodities like oil, soap, shampoo, they are luxury for them. So what shall I talk about shoes? And hardly means in a few years they buy clothes for themselves. So the condition of the family is extremely poor. So I hope both the stories, the first story, the story that is the story of Ram Saran, as well as the second story, that means the story of Lakha Singh, both the stories are clear to everybody. Now, why am I telling you the story, or why have I told you the story? Just for fun? No. Now we will analyze both the stories and we will see certain points, certain social issues, that what is the situation of both the families with regard to certain issues. We will analyze both the stories well. Now students, as you can see here, certain points are given, and on the basis of these points we will analyze both the stories. We will analyze as well as compare both the stories and understand the main concept. So the first point is landlessness. See, in both the cases, in the case of Ram Saran as well as in the case of Lakha Singh, they were not having their own land. They were landless. If they were having their own land, then there was some scope that they could work on their land and they could, at least they could earn their living well. That was the scope. But since they are landless, so there is no scope for that. See, landlessness, this is one of the major factors if we talk about poverty, or major reasons, I could say, the factors, the dimensions why poverty is there. The person is landless. The person does not have his or her own land. So this is the first case, as we just saw in both the cases. Then the second issue is unemployment. If I talk about employment or unemployment, then see, in the first case, that means Ram Saran, he earns rupees 1500 per month, but he does not get work for the complete year. Means for 5 to 6 months only he is engaged in some or the other activity, and for the rest of the months he has to do certain odd jobs. So means he is not fully employed, he is not able to use his full potential. I hope you have studied one term, means in the previous chapter I explained you about disguised unemployment, which is also called as hidden unemployment, where a person is not able to utilize his full potential. The person definitely has the capability or the ability, but chances are not given. If chance will not be provided, if opportunity will not be provided, how will the person prove his or her capability or potential? So in the first case, that means Ram Saran, he only got work for about 5 to 6 months. And if I talk about Lakha Singh, then same condition was there. Whenever he got work, he earned rupees 50 per day, right? So means both of them are unemployed in a way, because they are not fully employed, or I would say they are disguisedly employed or unemployed, right? So I hope this second point is also clear to everybody. Now let us see the third issue. The third issue is size of family. See, this is also an important issue or criterion in order to decide, or in order, cut this line. Now see, size of family. When it comes to size of family, this is also an important criterion when we are talking about poverty. Now how size of family? See, if I talk about the first story, that is the story of Ram Saran, then Ram Saran had how many members in the family? 6 members, and he also had to send money to his old parents who were in the village. Now Ram Saran had 4 children, right? Now if only one child would be there of Ram Saran, then I think the the burden of Ram Charan would be less. See, 4 children means 4 mouths to feed, and 1 child means only 1 mouth to feed. Maybe that child would have got better opportunities, maybe that child would have been sent to school or got better medication facilities. This could be there. If the size of the family will be large, definitely there will be more pressure on the earner of the family, the person who is earning. If I talk about Lakha Singh, then his family size was also very big, right? Family size was definitely very big. So many children, and they are not sent to school. The person is poor, but the person has a big family. This is because of lack of education. The person is not having proper access to education. If the person will not be educated, if the person will not be literate, then how will he understand? The person is not able to feed 2 to 3 mouths also, and the person is having such big family. So that is one also important issue. That means size of the family. If the size of the family is small, then there is less pressure on the earner. So this tends to reduce poverty. If there will be more number of people, then poverty will also increase, because none of them will get quality education, quality life. So this is one issue. Now let's move to the next issue, that is illiteracy. See, in both the cases, both of them, Ram Charan as well as Lakha Singh, they were illiterate. Yes, and their children were also illiterate, because they had lack of money, they didn't had sufficient money to send their children to school. So both the children, in both the cases, children were uneducated, they were illiterate. If the children will be illiterate, then it is means the possibility is more that their children will also be literate. So this is means basically poverty is a vicious circle. A person gets trapped in that circle, right? So I hope this point is also clear. So literacy is very important. Once if the family or if the parents understand that how important education is for their children, for not only for their children but also for them, then also condition can improve. But since they have no access to education, the condition remains the same, and it continues to get worse day by day, right? So I hope this point is also clear. Now let's move to the next point, that is poor health and malnutrition. If the person is poor, that person will eat less, that person will not get proper balanced diet food, no vitamins, no proteins, nothing. How can, if the person is not able to arrange chapati or rice for the family, then how the person will get fruits and nuts and everything? Not possible. So everything is related to poverty. These are the factors that enhances poverty. The next point is child labor. See, child labor in the first case, that means in the case of Ram Charan, his elder son, he worked in a tea stall in order to add to the income of the family, where he got around ₹300. So he is doing child labor. He is not going to school. He has no access to education. So child labor is there, and there are chances, there is a probability that his children will also do the same thing. I am not creating, again I am telling you, I am not creating any stereotypes. This is just a general thing that I am telling you. Exceptions are always there. Alright. So this is also one issue. Next point is helplessness. Definitely both the families, they are helpless. They are not able to help themselves. They are trapped in that vicious circle, in that vicious cycle. They are forced to get into that circle. So both the families are in that trap. So I hope all these points are clear to everybody. See, both the stories I explained you so that you can analyze these points, right? So I hope that both the stories as well as these points are clear to everybody. So these are basically the factors of poverty. That means what causes poverty, right? So I hope this till here everything is clear to everybody. Now students, what are the indicators that explains poverty? See, there are several indicators that explains poverty. The first one, we will deal with all the points. The first one is hunger and lack of shelter. If I talk about hunger, see, food is very important. Without food, we cannot survive. And we need to have a healthy food, a balanced diet food, a food that contains everything, all kinds of nutrients and all the proteins and everything, all the values. So if proper food is not there, if a person is hungry, then definitely that person is poor. If the person is not able to get proper food for himself or herself or for his or her family. This is the first indicator, hunger. Second is lack of shelter. As I talked in about, the second one is lack of shelter. See, if I talk about shelter, as I talked in the two cases of poverty also, both of them were landless. They didn't had their own land. So this lack of shelter is also an indicator of poverty. That means a person is not having place to live, place to reside. That means a person is poor. Definitely these two are indicators. Then the second one, lack of clean water and sanitization facilities. If a person is not drinking clean water, definitely that is an indicator of poverty. See, if a person is not so rich but a middle class person also, then they also afford to get better water, clean water and proper sanitization facilities. But if a person is not able to get access to clean water and proper sanitization facilities, then definitely the person is likely to be poor, or poverty is there in the family. So this is also an indicator. Then the third point, lack of regular job. Regular job, very important point. In both the cases, in case of Ram Saran as well as in Lakha Singh, they didn't had regular jobs. They means whenever, cut that line. See, Ram Saran, he got jobs only for about 5 to 6 months, and if I talk about Lakha Singh, his job was also irregular, not regular at all. So regular job is also one indicator of lack of poverty or no poverty. Oh, cut that line. So lack of proper job is also an indicator that a person is poor. That is very important point. And the last point, that is living with a sense of helplessness. Earlier also I explained you about this point. If a person is helpless, he or she is not able to help himself or herself, definitely there is poverty somewhere. So these are the dimensions, or these are the indicators from where we can indicate a particular person is poor or not. So I hope the indicators of poverty are clear to everybody. So students, if the poor or the lower strata, they are uplifted. If the poor people or the people of lower strata, they are uplifted, then definitely poverty will also be uplifted. It will be reduced to a great extent. So we need to see what we can do to uplift the lower strata, the poor people, what we can do, because this is really a social issue that needs to be resolved as soon as possible, right? And you know, if I talk about Mahatma Gandhi, see, when we got independence in 1947, but Mahatma Gandhi, who played a vital role in India's independence, he always insisted that India would be truly independent only when the poorest of its people become free of human sufferings. Sufferings are there if the person will be poor, if the living condition of the family is not good, there is full of sufferings in the family, definitely the person is not independent. And if the person is not independent, the country is not independent. So our country will get independence in true sense only if all the people, that means people of every section, people of every society, they are free from their human sufferings. That means everybody has access to everything, education, healthcare facilities, jobs, everything. So this way our country will be truly independent. these words are said by Mahatma Gandhi. This is the thought of actually Mahatma Gandhi. So in your examination, this question may also come that this is whose thought, or these lines are insisted by whom. So you need to be very thorough while I am explaining you this chapter. So I hope till here points are clear to everybody. And students, I'll be meeting you in the next video with the next topic. Till then, thank you so much. Stay safe and do take care of yourselves. I'll meet you in the next video. Thank you.